everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Sacred She Soul Sessions. I am joined today by Mollie, a beautiful soul sister that I connected with pretty recently, actually through my fiance, and her met. And she is a yoga teacher. She is a mother. She does retreats. She does so many amazing things. So welcome, Mollie. I'm gonna let you just say hi to everyone and tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do, and then we'll jump into today's topic.
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Mollie. I live in Kamloops, BC. I am a mother of 8-year-old twins, so I'm very busy. And I've recently started my own business. I haven't been doing it very long, but I have definitely found my power and my path, and everything is coming into light. I started teaching last year after 10 years of practicing, but in 2016, I hit a bit of a wall physically. I was working a job that was very demanding, both physically and mentally. And I was living my life in like 15-minute increments, and it took a toll on me because I was doing it for a long time. And I ended up in the hospital with exhaustion and migraines, and knew I needed to change my life. And so yoga came to me, and yoga called to me. Mm-hmm. And so I followed it. And it was like, I think if I had been in a dark room, you could have seen the light boing, go on over my head, because it was just like everything all of a sudden clicked. And I have completely given into the faith and the little messages in my head and following my heart. And it is taking me on this magical, magical journey. And there's no stopping me now. It's a snowball going down a hill.
I love that so much. And I can just feel your energy and the positivity just oozing through the interwebs. So I know we were talking a little bit about what we could talk about today that would be valuable to everyone and relatable to something that you'd like to share with everyone, and that we can talk about, was talking about victim mindset and also shifting out of fear and into a more positive mindset. So I'm excited for us to jump a little bit more into that today, because that's something I can feel into. I know a lot of women in this community can feel into, and I think in some aspect or another, we've all fallen into a victim mindset, and I certainly know that we've all fallen into fear, probably more often than we'd like to admit a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, ladies, if you are hopping on, let us know in the comments that you are here. If you think of questions as we're talking, let us know. We can see them in the comments. We're happy to answer them. And if you're catching this on the replay, hi to you too. You can still comment us some questions and thoughts as we go, but definitely let us know that you are here. So let's just jump into it, Mollie, and talk a little bit about victim mindset and like what that even means.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a huge thing for me. Sitting on the yoga mat 2 years ago, with tears, lying there in Shavasana, and I had tears rolling down my face, and I was just in this place where my mind was constantly going. And I hated my job, and I had hated every job before that. And I was always in this place where I was, I would find a job, and I would 6 months later find a new job. And I was lying there that day, and the woman who was teaching started talking about fear. And it was like, holy man, I can't believe she's speaking to me. Like, this is for me to hear. And I realized that I was terrified of everything. And I was terrified, and I couldn't change because of the excuses I kept telling myself, right? And listening to her talk gave me the power to step into that first step and moving. And the more I do it, the easier it becomes for me. But the more I see how many people live this way, now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can be your job, it can be your relationship, it can be how you live your life, and it can be from things, from small things to huge things. And a lot of the time we are completely unaware of it. And then it happens and we become aware of it, and it's so big, it's become such a huge monster that you are terrified and overwhelmed and don't even know where to start. And it's I mean, you can tell I'm very passionate about this
Oh
because
yeah.
it's no way to live. It is no way to live, and it becomes a monster.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's definitely become a passion of mine to help people move out of that way of living and empowering them. And I do that. I try to do that every single day.
I think empowering is such a good word there because I think a lot of people feel powerless. Like I know for myself, 3, 4 years ago, I was 60 pounds heavier. I was in a job I didn't like. I was in a relationship that was really abusive. Like there wasn't really a lot of positives, but at the time, looking back now, I realized it was a direct reflection
Mm-hmm.
of my mindset and where I was at. Like I did not believe I was more worthy, and it was everything in my head. Even though I wasn't a complainer to others, everything was kind of woe is me and like why is it happening to me and why, like why, but the questions I was asking weren't really to produce answers. They were more just negative questions of why is this happening to me? Why am I experiencing this? And I wasn't really doing any work to move out of that. It was just kind
Yeah,
of just stagnant being in that energy and feeling really, really powerless. And
yeah,
I think that's a lot of people. They feel stuck, they feel powerless, and you get all these stories and beliefs that you have of how you have to live your life.
yeah.
That to move out of that is really, really scary.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. It is very scary, and it's a lot of work. Like, I mean, I can't sugarcoat it. It is a lot of work, especially in the beginning when you need to make those big changes. Um, there's a lot that needs to be done, but I keep telling people that it doesn't need to be done all at once. You
Yeah.
know, baby steps are still steps moving forward.
Yeah,
And
action is helpful. Like taking consistent
exactly.
action
And
every single day.
yeah, action every single day, and action even if you don't know the answer, even if you don't know where you're going, taking a step forward will shift your direction. I always like the analogy of the boat, and you're in a ship, and your life is the ship moving forward, and just a tiny little correction in that wheel will change your course completely over time, right? It doesn't need to be a fast shift in one moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might look like on the outside to other people like
Mm,
that so much is happening for this person and they don't see all the work that goes into it in the background. Like
yeah,
I've had someone say to
totally.
me, like, how did you move to BC and Canada and you left this job and you did these things and on paper or on social media it can look like people are living these grand, extravagant lives of their dreams, but ultimately there's a lot of work that goes in there, there's a lot of pain, there is struggle, but it's a good kind of struggle as you're
Yeah,
moving forward on it because you are feeling empowered, or at least that's been
yeah,
my experience, is feeling really empowered to keep taking those little steps forward because it, to me, it's almost like a muscle. Like the more you do it, you're right, the easier it does get. And instead of fear, you start to almost fear excitement. You feel excitement.
yeah, absolutely. It's a mindset thing. You can shift how your mind perceives that change, and when you add that excitement to it, when you add a good thing to it, you actually look forward to change instead of fearing it. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So when you started to have these realizations and you're in there and you're in Shavasana and feel like she's speaking to you and now clearly you have made a lot of change and move forward, what did you start with? Like what did you start doing and how did you kind of make a plan to actually take some action and shift things?
well, honestly, the biggest change for me was accepting my divine faith. And I had been dabbling in it for a long time, and when I was a kid, I had blind faith, and um, my family, they were religious, but not super religious, and we would go to church every once in a while. And I can remember going to church and liking it, um, and liking the teachings of it. And then I went to university, and I was actually going into religious studies because it fascinated me. Yeah. And through that, I lost my faith, ironically, learning the history of religion um, and how it's affected us as a society. And so I kind of shifted away from my faith because I thought I couldn't put, I couldn't hold both sides of it. And so then, years passed, and my kids were born, and my faith started coming back because I was terrified for them, and I was terrified for myself. And I started praying, and I started looking for signs, and I started seeing them, uh, but not, just intermittently. Um, and then my yoga training came into my life, and the first day we sat down, we told our stories as to what brought us here or into that moment. And I didn't realize it, but there was a lot of things that had to happen in order for me to be sitting in that yoga training. And it was undeniable that there was a larger plan there for me in that moment. And and so I embraced it because I was ready for it. Um, and ever since I've done that, ever since I did that, I took that first step. It's just been a magical roller coaster ride, and um, it, yeah, I, it's mind-boggling to me. I mean, it's still pretty new for me, but it makes me laugh every single day. I love it so much.
It is the
How
best thing ever.
Right? Like it is the best gift ever. Like it makes the journey like a gift box every single day that you get to open. And it's like I have my eyes of a child again, and I see life like a child again. And it's magical. Every single day there's fairies and unicorns everywhere.
I love that. I think that's been coming up for a lot of people lately. I know for myself, for 2018, I'm feeling like there just needs to be more play, like
Hmm.
more fun, and a lot of people have a lot of guilt around that. But
Hmm.
that's the kind of thing where we need to shift away from. Like we need to almost feel guilt that we're in this victim mindset or let go of the guilt altogether. But that's where we need to be thinking that we need to readjust things. But we need more fun, not less fun. We need more play. And I feel like the more play and the more fun, the more we do have creative energy and the more that we do kind of feel supported to step into who we really are and make those leaps and bounds. Whereas if we're not doing anything fun, it kind of leads you back into that stagnant energy.
Yeah. Um, Here's Facebook Live for you. There's somebody at my door. Can I just be right
Yes,
back?
of course you can. This is real. This is Facebook Live. This is what
Okay,
happens.
right back.
Just to say hi to everyone that's on right now. Let me know who's here. I'm gonna look on my phone. I just want to make sure this is our first time using this software for this one because last week we were having some issues. So I just want to make sure it's showing up the comments as they're live here. But let me know if you're here. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you have felt like you've been in victim mindset before. Hey Tressa. So Tressa says, okay.
Okay, I'm back. So,
No worries. So we have a comment.
oh, okay.
Tressa she just joined us here and she says, I'm in a very abusive relationship and she needs to get out. So she's looking for some advice. So
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
that's a good question for us that's related to this.
for sure. I will, I can speak to that actually. Um, my marriage was with a man who was very controlling and very oppressive. And I met him in my early 20s, And I instantly fell in love with the charismatic side of him. And it wasn't until I was in love with him that I started to see the other side of him, the controlling side of him. And by then, I was in it, I was committed. And so I stayed in the relationship for a long time. We were together for 10 years. And we went through times where I tried to leave, and I would get out the door and I'd drive down the road and I'd turn around because I was terrified of being on my own. And I was terrified of starting over again. And looking back on it now, I needed to have my children to give me the strength to move beyond the relationship, because I wasn't strong enough to do it for myself, because I didn't love myself. And I think as women, we fall into that. And we are taught that we need to put everything that we have into our relationships. And that means giving up on ourselves. And so when you're in a relationship that is abusive, either physically or emotionally, or, any of those ways, we justify it because we feel and we tell ourselves that we're not important enough, right? So, I'm sorry, what was her name that asked the question? Tressa. So, Tressa, you need to dig deep into your heart, connect with that little girl that's inside of you, and love her, because she deserves to be empowered. She deserves to be treated and respected like the princess and woman that she is. And any man that doesn't treat you that way does not deserve you. Any man that treats you that way is smaller than you are. So rise up into that power and do that for yourself. And take one step, and then take another, and take another. And before you know it, you'll be out of there. Yeah. Because you deserve so much better than that.
I can feel so much into that, and I can really relate with you both as well. I know when I'm 25 now. When I was 17, I met my long-term relationship that I was in previously, and that was a direct reflection of my lack of self-love. It was the same kind of situation, and I didn't have a child with him, but he had a child, so I was a stepmom for 7 years, and that was a very unhealthy relationship. There was abuse, there was drinking, gambling, drugs, like every part of that was unhealthy. But same kind of thing, I would say I was leaving and I didn't, and people got to the point where no one was taking me seriously about it because I was just I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, and when I finally was ready, it was a light bulb kind of moment for me where something clicked, and I was laying in bed and I said, nope, this is it. This is the last time that I'll lay here in fear for my life, for my well-being, and that was it. And it took a couple of weeks of working through the messy stuff and police and all that kind of unfun stuff, but ultimately it's kind of like you said with the victim mindset and the fear, where it isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. And I felt very alone, very isolated, and I realized that I had isolated myself. And I wasn't feeling worthy. So even though, I had sometimes told people I was leaving and stuff, no one knew the abuse that was really going on or how I was really feeling. They just knew that he was kind of a jerk and it wasn't a good relationship. And I didn't really let anyone see the inner workings or know how I was really feeling. So that was one thing that really helped me and empowered me, was when I did open up to a couple of people. And ultimately, no one can hold your hand and force you. You have to be ready to make those decisions, and you'll know when you're ready. But to have some people that are there that are going to help support you and to let them in, you'll be surprised the people that are going to be there for you and help you, and that you absolutely are not alone. Because you can feel more alone than when you are actually alone, when you're in a relationship that's not serving you. And I think sometimes we're scared to let go, and maybe this was a good relationship when you got into it. Maybe it wasn't, but at one point, maybe it was serving you in some way, but maybe not anymore. And Tressa says, me too. I stay alone. I'm ready. It's just scary. It is really fucking scary. I'm going to say that. It's really, really scary. And that period of time, like it's kind of like when someone would come in and see me at the gym, and I would talk to them, and it's before you've actually made a habit is the scary, is the hardest part, is when you come into the gym and you want to say you want to lose 10 pounds, but you haven't gone to the gym yet, you haven't worked out yet, you haven't changed your eating habits. So that's the most uncomfortable period of time, is those first couple of weeks when you start making changes, but you haven't seen the benefits yet. That's the hardest part. And I compare that as well to leaving a relationship, is it's hard to actually picture it when you haven't yet done it, because it is so scary.
Yeah.
So the next couple of weeks when you do choose to do it, whenever that is probably going to be a bit of struggle, but it's that worthwhile kind of struggle where you are running with the fear and pushing through it, which maybe, Molly, you have some more to add around how do we step into our fear and actually keep going.
Well, yeah, stepping
I'm
in.
just getting my laptop charger. Facebook, here we go with live. I'll let you go off that. I'm getting my charger.
Okay. Yeah, stepping into fear, facing your fears. I mean, a good place to start is to become aware of them, first of all, and then feel into them, acknowledge them, because we all have them and they are there for a purpose. Uh, and then take baby steps, ask for help, lean into your community, build yourself up, do things that make you happy so that you know the difference between a fear mentality and a happy mentality, and a faithful mentality. And when you're ready, take the bigger step. Um, and yeah, just do it. And we all do step into our fears differently. Some people, like, I'm a jumper, I'm a leaper. Somebody challenges me to do something and I do it. And then I look and make sure there's water in the pool afterwards. And, but not everybody can do that. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking baby steps or building a plan and, writing it out and checking it off. I've done this step. What's my next step? Okay, I'm going to, do this next thing. There's lots of different ways. You can take a step forward and then take a step back. That's totally fine. There's lots of ways that you can move into that new period or new spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Just even acknowledging the fear,
Mm-hmm.
start, and not having that elephant in the room of something that you don't want to deal with, and acknowledging it. So, like, it's a great example to look at a relationship, but you can apply that in business. You can apply that in your health and wellness and your fitness. Like, it really applies in all areas. But if you have a fear of something where you're getting nudges from the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, that you need to make that change and you're ignoring it, you'll probably feel that it gets louder and louder and louder, and that more things keep nudging you, that the way things are right now aren't what they're meant to be anymore.
Yeah. And if you don't listen to those nudges, they will get louder, and eventually the universe will take you out and you'll be knocked on your ass, and you won't, something significant will happen. And I mean, it's happened to me, it's happened to people I know, and it's even though it's scary, it's always better to do it when those little nudges come, because they're gentle.
One of the biggest pieces of advice, I guess you could call it, although it's a question that someone once posed to me or I read, but it's something that has always stuck with me. And it's asking myself every morning, if today is the last day that I'm alive for whatever reason and I'm in an accident or something happens to me, am I okay with how I'm spending it? Mm-hmm. And if I have too many days in a row where the answer to that is no, then I really know that I have to make a change. Because we all have days where maybe you've got a lot of things on your to-do list and, maybe, I wouldn't love to spend my entire life running errands and things like that. But when you have deep stuff coming up and you're like, no, I'm really actually not happy in my life, like, and this is your job, your relationships, your friendships, your health, your body, and those things are feeling unfulfilled day after day after day after day, like that is a huge sign, and that is a huge way I have found for myself and clients to really like spell out that yes, it is time to make a change if you're looking for that clarity and that kind of sign that when should you do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as you have stepped out of fear and kind of embraced the unknown, because that's a lot of what fear is the unknown, because we want to control things. So as you've stepped into that, like what has happened for you since?
Oh, so many incredible things have happened for me since, like, um, stepping into the unknown and letting go. Um, it creates all this, like, magical stuff in your life. It creates momentum. It creates, it brings you into your power. It creates so many wondrous things. And I like to play with it just to see how powerful it can be. And there are days when I think of something like I want something and it comes to me within hours. Comes to me within hours and it's crazy. And then you get it and you're like, this is hilarious. Like, opportunities come out of nowhere. People offer you things that you would have never even imagined that they would. And all of a sudden, like I'm booking seminars this summer all over BC because I can.
I
Because
love that.
I want to. And people are offering them to me. And it's like, I started my business in February. Not even. I took my training. I graduated my training in February. I started my business in April. So I've been going for 8 months and it's happening like this. It's crazy.
Well, the universe loves speed. Like once we're willing to go with that flow a little bit more, I find things happen faster and faster and faster and faster and faster in the best possible way. But it's like, holy shit, there's so much stuff going on. But I think when we're fearful, we're almost closed off because we're so fixated on what we don't like and what we don't want to happen and all the things we should do and feeling that victim mindset that we're not really creating any space for the possibilities and the new opportunities and the new connections and all these things that seemingly you open the floodgates and they're all coming in. But it's not because you and I are any better than anyone else or any of these other people that are having these things and these synchronicities. It's literally, I think, because we've just created some space to be more open to it.
Absolutely. And yeah, being open to it. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there.
It's being open to it, I think. And don't get me wrong, I still get lots of fear. I still get self-worth issues. I get all these kinds of things. And you know what I realized too is it's like an onion. Like we are each like an onion. And it's not a matter of just you have the shift and you turned on the light, but it's like you turn on the light and then you're forever for the rest of your life just pulling apart these layers and just getting deeper and deeper and deeper because I have addressed and worked through stuff that were huge barriers for me now, but now I'm realizing ones that I had that I didn't even know I had.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And you retrain your brain, right? So before, when these fears would stop you for months, now they stop you for a week or a day or, and eventually you still get them, but you can pass through them. And it's an actual retraining of your brain and building new connections. And it's amazing what happens in there. And it's just, it's science, it's awesomeness, it's life, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time we just don't even realize all of the little behaviors and stories and things that we have created ourselves, the ones that have been really deep rooted in us since we were children, ones that we've adopted from others. Like sometimes I have thoughts and beliefs and things and I'm like, wait a minute, like who am I borrowing this from? Where did this come from? It's not even my story that I've adopted. It's
No.
something my mom has said or a friend has said or someone else, and now I've adopted that as something about me. So there's a lot of soul work that can be done, but I think with people moving past their fear, like you hit on it perfect. It's just starting to take those steps and make those plans and acknowledge it and have those awarenesses around it and be willing to put in the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. Like it's you have to be willing to put in the work and and constantly make time for it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, it's a lot of self-care, which I don't think we're used to, and I don't think um, we're taught to do nowadays, you know? So starting to put yourself first is a big part of it, you know, like to be able to just say we're going to start moving forward and stepping through fear. Like there's a whole bunch of other things that you also need to learn, right? Like, you know, your self-care and your stories and your history, your family history, like
All of it.
back going back into the relationships of my family history has been huge for me. And it's
Yeah.
and for me it's been the hardest thing to overcome, because they're so deeply ingrained. And um, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it.
I'm curious too, with all of the work that you've been doing in these areas and with clients and women that you've networked with, like what are some of the tools that you've been using? Like what are the most impactful things? Like if someone is ready to acknowledge their fears and step into that, what kinds of things can they do? Like there's so many things, right? Like yoga, meditating,
Meditation,
journaling.
meditation has been huge for me. Journaling has been huge for me. Nature is
Yeah,
nature is by far the biggest one. For me, um, connection to myself and to nature. Um, that's where it all started, is walking in the forest and just being quiet. And now that I know my training, I know that what I was doing back then was meditative walking, right? But I had no idea. I was just going for a walk, right? And that's where I started feeling things and I started seeing things. And you know, when it first starts and you start seeing like grass that's like so green, or snow that looks like diamonds, and rainbows that come out of the sky, and it's just like you have to stop and look, right? Because you've lived your whole life with all of these things but never really seen them. And
yeah, totally.
you know, and for me, like for me, I remember driving to my girlfriend's house in Kelowna and heading over the connector one day, and I saw a rainbow and it was raining, and I had to pull over and I started crying because it was so beautiful. And I'm like, there's something wrong with me. Like I must have a brain tumor or something, right? Because I've never seen rain so beautiful. And that's what it was. It was the shift starting to happen. And you know, you change your brain and you start seeing things better.
Yeah.
And yeah, nature, meditation, journaling. And for negative journaling, I think the key for negative journaling is to get it all out. Don't worry about reading it. Don't worry about making it happy or um, pretty to look at. Like I don't even take my pen
Yeah.
off my page. And then I
I
write.
know when I would journal, it was like I had this preconceived idea that it had to be pretty, like, and
Exactly.
it never went deep. And if I look at my journals from a couple years ago, it was like January 2nd,
Yeah.
2016. Today I had an okay day. I did
Yeah.
this, and this. Like there was no reflecting or expanding going on there.
Tears. There's no tears. And but then, you know, take that energy and get rid of it. Like when I first started this, I would write and burn every single night for days. And now I do it when I'm struggling, but I don't have that in me anymore. And letting it go, that's letting that energy out, is just huge help. Um, and I have journals like I think I've got like 5 journals going right now. And you know, and meditation, I wake up first thing in the morning. The first thing I do is I thank, you know, the universe for waking me up because it didn't have to. And and I meditate. I have a little app on my phone. I turn on a guided meditation that brings me into my body and the energies of the earth. And I love it. I wake up with a smile on my face every day. And then I put on some music and I write out what I'm grateful for and what I'm excited about in my day. And it's huge. It's huge. It changes when you wake up and you start your day happy, it makes everything else better. And if you stub your toe, it's like, whatever, I'm just going to keep going, right? And negativity just doesn't affect you the same way after a while.
I love that too because everything that you've just listed off is not crazy. It's simplistic, but the main thing is that it's ritualistic. That you're doing it consistently every single day, and that's the thing where it comes down to putting that work in. Because for a lot of people, they're tired, they're stressed, so to get up and do those things.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, I used to get up and the first thing I would do is be scrolling on my phone, looking at what other people are doing in their lives, reading my emails, getting stressed about my to-do list. But since I stopped and I spent my first hour, like you, meditating, journaling, gratitudes, just sitting and drinking my cacao or my coffee and just being present or going for a quick walk with my dog in the morning, then I really start the next part of my day. The rest of my day goes so much better. Yeah. And I know so many more positive little things of magic and miracles and opportunities in my day because I really account that to how I start my day.
How you start your day. And it doesn't need to be huge. Like
no.
if you have time to do all those things, then fabulous. But
it doesn't have to be an hour.
Exactly. When my kids are home, my daughter sleeps with me and I do it in 10 minutes because then she's up and I don't have that time anymore. Right. But I still get up and I do it. And, it makes such a huge shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every little bit of it makes a difference. And I know for me, I don't know about you, but I didn't have all of these little rituals and habits all at once. Like you just start one thing at a time and you slowly, just like everything else, you slowly add more, you slowly build more. And with the new year right now, I've kind of just gone through and reassessed like what are my priorities and what are my non-negotiables is huge because there's lots of things I'd like to do every morning and every evening before bed. And sometimes I do all of them and I have like a self-love day or evening and I have the time. Other times, your head just wants to hit the pillow and go to sleep. And so when people commit themselves to too many things, then it just stops happening and we just slip back to habits. So I think even having 5 or 10 minutes where you have your couple non-negotiable things, you do them and you make that your habit.
Yeah. And the self-love comes into that too, like being okay when it doesn't happen. I mean, giving yourself permission to not do it once in a while, right? Like big deal if you don't do it one night. It's not gonna affect everything else if you don't let it, right? If you don't make that choice. And the victim mentality comes into that too, like making excuses. And I always say like, buts are part of the victim mentality, like, oh, I should be doing this. Yeah, but blah, blah, blah. And you give yourself those justifications and excuses. And there's no reason for it other than not committing to yourself,
Yeah, I feed myself so many excuses all the time and so many buts. Yeah. And that feeling of the guilt, like I would, before I was trying to lose weight and I would overeat on a holiday or something. And then I'd say, but, now I've messed up the day, so may as well, it's a messed up week or a month. And it keeps going. Instead of just saying, wow, I really enjoyed that meal and it just, my soul was craving it. It felt so good. Maybe and then you get up the next day and you feel good about it. But it's where we get feeling guilty. And I find guilt is so connected to that victim mindset because the victim mindset is just how we show it. It's like how we say it, where we do the buts and the woe is me and all the different ways that it shows up. But a lot of the time it's because, like you said, we're not doing the self-love, we're not feeling worthy, and we're feeling guilty for when we do have those pleasures and enjoyments in our life. And the good positive feelings.
Exactly. And we deserve all those good things, right? And you can hold both. Like this is something I've learned recently is you can hold both the negative and the positive of both things. You know, you can hold the positive of the self-love and all that awesomeness, and still it's still okay to hold that fear of not doing something else, or the guilt of doing something else. It's okay to hold both. You don't have to do one or the other. And
Yes.
that, when I figured that out this past fall, I was like mind blown, right? Like, what do you mean I can hold both? I was like, oh yeah, I can. I'm an actual, like, I'm, a human being with a brain big enough to actually do that. And it makes it so much better because then you have more options,
Yeah.
you know, and the guilt kind of just falls away. All the negative sides fall away, because who wants to hold on to that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many options out there. It's literally abundant. There's no stopping. Like there's no limit on how many options we have and how many possibilities that we have. It's just if we're willing to acknowledge it and allow ourselves to be open to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
love that so much, and I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation today
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of people that are feeling stuck and not sure like how to take that next step of just moving a little bit forward and out of that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, if you're stuck, reach out to your community, reach out to your friends and family. And if you don't have friends and family that can support you, then search for a new community. I spent many, many years after my divorce alone, because I didn't know where to find my community.
Yeah.
And um, and now that I've found it, I can't imagine life without it. But it's been there for me, um, when I needed it, and I'm now learning to ask for help more, because now I know those people are there for me. So never stop looking for your community, first of all.
I love that you say that.
and and get creative with it. Look for it in places that you might not expect it. Look for it in places where you want to be. You know, if you're coming into a place in your life where you need to change, think about where you want to be in 6 months, and then go look for those people instead of looking for the people that are in your life right now, because eventually those people aren't going to be the kind of people you're around anymore, right? Because your energy attracts the same energy back.
And on that topic too, just one thing that popped into my head is just that it's okay that if you have someone in your life, like you've got a childhood friend and they're the most negative person in the world, but you've got that story in your head. Well, I've known them for 20 years. They're my best friend or my oldest friend. One of the things that I've learned with family, relationships, friendships, all these different things, that it's okay to shift the amount of time. Like if you're not ready to let that person go, you
Yeah,
may in the future, but
yeah,
it's okay to give yourself permission to change the amount of time you spend. Like someone that was once a 24/7 friend,
yeah,
maybe they become a 2 hour friend where you guys just go for lunch once a week. And then
yeah,
maybe like I have friends that have now become 2 minute friends where we're more
yeah.
just acquaintances now. I still love on them. I
Mm-hmm.
don't surround myself with them anymore.
Yeah,
And it's held so much more space where I've met so many amazing women, just like yourself. Like you are one of those women. And that's who I surround myself. Like you find who you want to be like you said, or how you want to feel. And you
yeah,
find people that are in that energy and you
yeah,
surround yourself. And these are the kinds of people that have open arms and
yeah.
want to take you in. And that's why you find mentors, you find coaches, you find people that are willing to guide you, and then friends that are on this journey that are going to hold your hand and be a part of that community. And that's why I love this community. I love so many of the similar kind of ones that are out there on Facebook because it's so important to have those in-person friendships. So a lot of ones online get moved to the face-to-face stuff, but
Yeah.
that's the cool part of social media, I think, is being able to connect with people that are going to be a part of your tribe and do want the same kinds of things that you can have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love that. Yeah.
Yes. No, I think it's really, really cool. And yeah, like it's just letting go of those beliefs of
Yeah.
what is worthy and what
Giving
is not. And
giving yourself permission to grow and expand. And I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to learn. We're here to um, I was talking to my kids the other day, and they're both 8, and they're in grade 2, 3, and they're like, "Oh, I hate school. I just can't wait until I'm done." Right? And I'm like, it's never over.
Yeah.
When you stop learning, that's it. You're done. You're dead. Like, that is why we are here. Just
Yeah.
it's it's just different now. And part of the yoga training, you learn, you're born this perfect little entity, and throughout your cycles of life, all this stuff gets put on top of it. And as an adult, our goal or our purpose is to take it all back off, right? So you can become that perfect little thing again and be who
I
you
love
are.
that. What a great breakdown. It's so simple, but it makes total
Right?
sense.
Yeah, it does. Because I mean, I see it for my kids right now, like, um, and babies. Like when you smile at a baby, right, and a baby smiles at you, I think babies that smile at the same people, or see you and look at you, they see your light, right? Because they're still that fresh light. And I can see it happening in my children right now. Their light is becoming less shiny because of all the things that happens in their lives, right? And I've watched it over the last um, couple years, and I have to have faith that in their lifetime that will come back on their journey, and I have to have faith that this is their journey. But yeah, that's what happens, is we go through this period where we become covered up and
Yeah,
have to learn how to reopen it. And if you don't grow and expand, that doesn't happen.
absolutely. And I think everyone that's watching this and the people that we're connecting with and the women that are in these communities, it like everything is happening for a reason. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're watching this for a reason, or you're drawn to certain books for a reason, and it's because you're on that journey
Yeah.
and you're looking for taking those layers off again.
Yeah, trust your heart. Listen to those little messages. That little voice in your head, it's not there because you're crazy. It's there to guide you. And when you listen with faith and trust, it will never steer you wrong. And you're always in the right place at the right time. You're always exactly where you're meant to be. You know, like when I went on my last retreat here, my flights were all delayed and canceled, and I ended up missing all of my connections. And so the next day, I was on a completely different flight to a completely different city, and I met up with a friend in Miami that I would have never seen if I hadn't been delayed. And I was like, this is so magical. Like, I wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to be there, but yet the universe brought us together for that moment. And it was perfect. And you're always in exactly the right place at the right time.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I could go on for 2 hours or
I know.
more. All the different times where before I would have thought it like the worst thing ever was happening to me. And then now I'm like, oh, cool, I'm being reshifted in another direction. Like, I wonder what's going to happen now or why
Yeah.
and it's just such a different energy state.
Yeah. Going with the flow and, just
Yeah,
being present.
absolutely. Well, I guess on that note, I really want to thank you for coming on today because I
No,
feel like there was so much value in these messages, and I know I took a lot from it. And
thank you.
it's
Yeah.
it's something that comes up a lot in the community of women right now that are having awakenings or just stepping into their power essentially and getting to know who they are. It's such a
Yeah.
powerful message to step out of your fear and some tips and tools on how to do that.
Yeah. 2018 is going to be a super powerful year. I can
Yeah,
feel.
it really, really is.
Yeah.
And for anyone that's wanting to get in touch with you, of course, I'm going to link up your Facebook. But what other kinds of things do you have going on, or like where is it best to connect with you?
Best place to get me is probably on Facebook at Mollie Sommer Wellness. I am super passionate about helping people on their journeys. And so I build retreats, and I coach, and I teach yoga, and I put everything together into some pretty magical weekends. And so I'm in Kamloops. So I offer day retreats here in Kamloops every other month. And then I also offer weekend retreats around BC quarterly, and then twice a year destination week-long retreats in amazing places. So yeah. I've got Costa Rica coming up in February, and I'm just, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. So yeah, just helping people grow and giving them that space to help themselves. It's so important, and it's my passion, and I know it's the right path for me. So I am not moving from it.
I can see and feel your light from here. I love it so much. Well, we will link up your website if anyone's wanting to check out the retreats and all those details, but we'll definitely link up your Facebook page so people can stay in touch and make sure to connect with Mollie and feel free to reach out. But yeah, we'll tie it up there because I think that's just the perfect message and everything that we've shared.
Thank you, so much, Jenna, for having me. I've really enjoyed this. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for everyone that caught this live and everyone that catches the replay. Let us know your feedback and comments. Let us know if you have questions about something that we covered. And yeah, we can't wait until the next one. Yay. See you all and have a happy Tuesday.
You too. Enjoy. Bye.
Bye.